Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Batum. Ryota, an unemployed 22-year-old, is an elite Japanese player of Batum, an MMO which sold almost 3 million copies worldwide, with his team ranked as 10th in the whole world. In the present, an amnesiac Ryota awakens in a parachute harness on a tropical island, only equipped with his bag containing a few necessities, a pouch full of countdown bomb-like weapons called timer bims, and a strange bead-like chip embedded on his left hand. At night on the beach, he's pursued by someone who attacks him with cracker bims. Failing to reason with him, Ryota is forced to evade behind the bushes, realizing that he's forced to play Batum for real. When his opponent corners him near a cliff, Ryota then sets a trap by leaving a timer bim on the cliff and jumping into the ocean, which kills his assailant. Later, while we're in the jungle near a river, he sees a girl. Her name is Himiko. She just escaped from a man called Mitsuo who wanted to rape her, and from a killer named Masashi. Because of this, she believes that everyone on the island is her enemy. Ryota attempts to talk with Himiko about her case full of food, but she runs away in the bushes. When Ryota tries to locate her, he instead stumbles upon a man named Kiyoshi. He explains that he was also approached by two men, after which he woke up on a cargo plane with a small crowd of people who were all informed by a cheerful man on screen about their participation in a death game on the tropical island. After they all learned that the objective of completing the game is to collect IC chips from 8 other participants after they're killed. Many of them were infuriated, but masked men aboard the plane armed with stun guns subdued them. Ryota was the most outspoken of the group and seemed to know the man in charge, but he was shocked in the head with a stun gun, which explained his lost memories. The plane reached the island and the participants were thrown out with parachutes. Ryota realizes that Terrainus Japan, the group who he created in Batum, was most likely responsible for this. As Ryota and Kiyoshi decide to team up to improve their odds, they notice another plane dropping food supplies onto the island. When Ryota races after a food supply, a woman reaches it first, only for her to be killed by a trap set by a man, who then just takes it and leaves. Ryota and Kiyoshi then contemplate on whether they should pursue another parachute, but they eventually decide to do so since they wouldn't be able to defend themselves if their strength was low. Upon reaching the parachute, they discover a small boy covered in blood, who appears to have killed another man for the food supply. In the past, a 14-year-old sadistic necrophiliac named Gosuke was arrested for murdering 3 women. Back in the present, a lawyer named Soichi discovers Gosuke near the shore, skewering frogs for fun. Soichi tries to explain that it's wrong to kill living things out of amusement, but Gosuke rejects the explanation. After a food supply drops nearby, the two investigate it with Gosuke's abusive father. He's forcing his son to use an implosion bim to retrieve the food supply from a tree, decides to take the case for himself, going on about survival of the fittest. Gosuke, tired of the abuse, activates an implosion bim on his father and kills him, feeling a rush of euphoria. Soichi runs away frightened, saying Gosuke is akin to a monster. At this point, Gosuke is discovered by Ryota and Kiyoshi, who retreat after failing to reason with him. As Gosuke chases after them with the intent to kill, Ryota decides to fight in order to protect Kiyoshi. Ryota and Gosuke soon recognize each other as Batum players and engage. After Gosuke taunts and attacks him, Ryota hits his head against a rock, which causes a personality shift where he perceives reality as being the game world. Ryota defeats Gosuke by hiding his movements with advanced sonar cancelling. Although Ryota can't bring himself to kill the kid, he binds him to a tree, taking his food supply and his bims. When our MC leaves, Gosuke is thrilled to learn Ryota is actually the top-ranked Japanese player of Batum. While Ryota and Kiyoshi are eating near the river, the corpse of Mitsuo without pants washes downstream, leaving Ryota and Kiyoshi to speculate. Ryota, suspecting that an enemy may be lurking upstream, goes to investigate and discovers Himiko waiting atop a cliff. She draws him out into the open by throwing a blazing gas bim into the forest. Although he attempts to reason with her, she attacks him with a cracker bim, prompting him to charge at her. She uses her stun gun to defend herself, but Ryota causes her to stun herself and land on top of him. He's tempted to grope her while she's unconscious, but he decides not to, as she was previously assaulted by Mitsuo. Himiko awakens in Ryota's arms and, upon the fear of being violated again, activates a timer bim hidden in her pocket. But Ryota deactivates it. Back at the campsite, she explains to Ryota and Kiyoshi that everyone on the island had been chosen by someone they knew that wanted to make them disappear. Himiko knows that her friend chose her for being betrayed. Kiyoshi deduces that a real estate customer might have chosen him due to an argument, and Ryota realizes that his own mother had chosen him for defying her. Suddenly, the group is attacked by a pack of Komodo dragons. After Himiko passes out, Kiyoshi carries her to the other side of the river, leaving Ryota to handle the Komodo dragons. Ryota realizes that others' BIMs are rendered useless if their owner is alive. After a Komodo dragon bites Kyoshi's leg, Ryota manages to activate one of his cracker BIMs to scare it off. While Ryota carries Himiko on his back, Kyoshi carries all the food supplies and BIMs. Suddenly, a Komodo dragon appears and causes the two to get separated. Ryota, having failed to find Kyoshi with his sonar, thinks he's betrayed them, leaving them without weapons or food, but when they're attacked by a Komodo dragon, Kyoshi undoubtedly returns and kills it using a homing BIM, confirming that their sonars cancelled out when they were searching for each other. They're followed by more Komodo dragons to an abandoned communications tower near the sea. Kyoshi tries to hold off the Komodo dragon using homing BIMs, but not to much effect. This prompts Ryota to use one of Himiko's blazing gas BIMs by using her finger to activate the switch to drive the Komodo dragons away. Later, when Himiko regains consciousness, she still feels uncomfortable after Ryota touches her shoulder. After Kyoshi's leg becomes infected, Ryota asks Himiko to hold down Kyoshi to disinfect it. Back in the mainland, it's revealed that Tyrannus Japan is monitoring the events on the island, especially with a special interest in Ryota. As Ryota notices the variety of food supplies and BIMs that Himiko possesses, he concludes that she had murdered many other participants, putting her under suspicion. Soon they're suddenly discovered by another participant's sonar, and Ryota decides to be a decoy to draw the assailant away from his friends. In the forest, Ryota is attacked by the assailant, who's revealed to be Masashi. In the past, Ryota and Himiko got married in the Batum world, but Himiko didn't want to meet him in the real world just yet. Ryota, realizing that Masashi and Soichi are working together, is overpowered and has his BIMs confiscated. Although Masashi allows Ryota to escape after shocking Soichi with a stun gun, this was his plan to track Ryota back to the abandoned communications tower. Ryota tries to reason with Masashi, saying that the entire scenario was set up by Tyrannus Japan to iron out bugs in Batum, as there may be a loophole allowing everyone to survive. However, Masashi is slicing Kyoshi's fingers off and pushing Ryota off the cliff into the trees before he leaves. Ryota returns unharmed and finds Himiko's phone, realizing she may be the same Himiko whom he knew in the game, judging from her cosplay wallpaper. At another abandoned building, Masashi and Soichi tie Himiko down on a bed and proceed to torture her a little bit. Ryota, leaving Kyoshi behind, uses his sonar to signal and locate Himiko, prompting Masashi and Soichi to search for him. After untying her, Ryota questions if she's the Himiko he once played with in Batum, but she denies this. The two are attacked by Soichi, who is consequently killed by his own cracker BIM that Ryota previously disabled. Masashi then holds Himiko hostage, challenging Ryota to a fist fight. Instead, Ryota rushes for Masashi's knife, only to be beaten to the ground. Himiko then jumps on Masashi and activates a blazing gas BIM on him. Ryota and Himiko try to escape by going through an opening in the ceiling, but Masashi grabs Himiko's leg to drag her back down. However, Ryota reactivates Soichi's timer BIM, which soon detonates and kills Masashi. Ryota and Himiko take refuge in yet another abandoned building at night. Ryota explains that he views the game world more as reality, especially with his relationship with the Himiko he knew in Batum, hence his reason for saving her from Masashi. Himiko silently breaks into tears, not expecting to meet Ryota in the real world and afraid of revealing her true identity as the Himiko in the game world due to her previous traumatic experiences. Himiko wakes up in the middle of the night and screams upon the sight of a ghost. Ryota investigates and discovers a seemingly crazed woman living nearby, knocking her out when she attacks him. Ryota brings Himiko with him to calm down the woman, who was a survivor from a previous iteration of the Batum death game. Shiki was a nurse at an understaffed hospital working with a doctor named Masahito, who blamed her for his medical malpractice. As they were both chosen to participate in the death game, the doctor blasts off her left arm after obtaining 6 IC chips and takes her chip after betraying her, leaving the island via helicopter. As Ryota and Himiko say goodbye to Shiki, it's revealed that Masahito went back to the island to treat Kyoshi's wounds. Ryota and Himiko return to Kyoshi, who has his wounds treated by Masahito, who tricks them all into gaining their trust, discreetly intending to betray them and take their IC chips later on. A new food supply case arrives on the island, urging Ryota, Himiko and Masahito to rush for it. Ryota engages in a fight with a man wearing sunglasses named Nobutaka. Masahito catches the food supply case and brings it towards Ryota, who runs away from Nobutaka. However, after a fire occurs, Nobutaka grabs the food supply case and dives off a cliff into the ocean, as to which Ryota follows him. Meanwhile, Himiko is attacked by a young female who constantly taunts her. While they're fighting, Masahito throws a remote-control BIM their way, intending to kill them both. However, he notices that Himiko is still alive and pretends that he was trying to save her. Ryota resurfaces near a beach and witnesses another player fall for Nobutaka's booby trap. He comes out of hiding and threatens Nobutaka with a cracker BIM, telling him to drop all of his equipment. Nobutaka obeys, which causes Ryota to get suspicious. As Ryota approaches the equipment, Nobutaka activates a hidden remote control BIM and seemingly kills Ryota. But when he activates his sonar, he's surprised to see Ryota still alive. Nobutaka leaves after he realizes who he was fighting, leaving Ryota to wonder how he knows his name. When Ryota, Himiko, and Masahito return to Kiyoshi, Ryota remembers that Nobutaka was his best friend back in high school, up until he slept with his crush. After Masahito mentions that more food supplies will arrive at noon the next day, he suggests that a serum is needed to heal Kiyoshi's wounds. Ryota and Himiko bring Masahito to Shiki's house to retrieve the medicine. As the three split up, Masahito finds some expired medicine and puts them in his case, which he entrusts to Ryota, who has a strange feeling about this. When Ryota signals Himiko, she comes back running and shouts at him to drop the case. This is because Masahito discreetly placed a remote-control BIM inside the case, which soon detonates. After Ryota is seemingly killed, Himiko loses the will to fight, but Shiki saves her and wounds Masahito with a sickle. After Masahito sets off a remote-control BIM on Shiki, Himiko laments on never having the chance of revealing her true identity to Ryota. The doctor throws one of Ryota's cracker BIMs at Himiko, but it fails to detonate, as it's revealed that Ryota has survived. Masahito runs from Ryota to lure him into another trap and activates the remote-control BIM, not knowing that Ryota had moved the remote-control BIM to another location, which explodes and injures Masahito. Ryota and Himiko hesitate to finish him off until Shiki appears, eager to kill him. In that last moment, she alters the path of the blade next to him, saying that she'll never forgive him. Afterwards, Ryota and Himiko find 3 corpses that have their IC chips removed. As the two head back to their place, Ryota realizes that Kiyoshi would be the only one who knew about the 3 corpses. When Ryota begins climbing the ladder, he hears a homing BIM approaching and figures out that Kiyoshi has turned against them. Kiyoshi, hallucinating of his son and his wife both waiting for his return, targets Ryota from the forest with his homing BIM. Ryota dodges the homing BIM, only to be targeted by another, injuring his leg while he blames himself for Kiyoshi's ordeal. Supported by Himiko, they can avoid more homing BIMs, in which Kiyoshi panics and flees. When Ryota and Himiko go after him, Ryota tries to apologize for his actions. Kiyoshi, feeling sorry for betraying them, detonates its last homing BIM when he becomes surrounded by the Komodo dragons to atone for his sins. As Ryota mourns for him, Himiko takes all the IC chips from Kiyoshi and they return to their hideout. There, Himiko asks Ryota to kill her so that he can leave the island, but he refuses. Ryota then finally recognizes Himiko as the person he knew from Batum and kisses her. Ryota stops when he senses her fear, but promises to date her for real when they return home. Elsewhere, back on the mainland, several employees from Tyrannus, Japan leave for the island when it's said that there are mechanical problems on the island. One of the employees silently apologizes to Ryota, saying that it was the best he could do, perhaps a sign that he did something to help Ryota. So, this is it for today's video. If you like the video, give it a huge thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos. Farewell till next time.